We got a 2-for-1 dictator special with this census stuff. It's so wrong in so many ways, but I'll let Andy Biggs go first on Fox News.
Since we've tried to fix this, but they allow illegal aliens to be in the reapportionment enumeration. And that means that you're including people who cannot vote, who have no entitlement to representation in the U.S. Congress or even in state government to be part of this. So, yeah, this should have been taken care of many years ago.
All right, so President Trump.
All right, so he obviously has no understanding of what the census is. By his standard, women wouldn't have been counted in the census before they had the right to vote. The 3/5 compromise, what's that about? That's about people being counted in the census before they had the right to vote, right? At the rate of 3 to 5, right? So this has nothing to do with what the Constitution says. The Constitution says that we should redo the census every 10 years, counting all persons. Now, what does all persons mean? It means all persons under the jurisdiction of the United States. And over time, that has included Indians, because they kind of went from a sovereign sort of situation to a sovereign dependent situation. But the point is, illegals should be counted in the census because guess what? Felons are also counted in the census, right? People who commit crimes lose their voting rights in some states. They're counted in the census. Why? Because the point of the census is to count the number of people that our government is under the jurisdiction of our government. Because what happens to those illegals and what happens to those felons, even though they have no right to vote and they shouldn't really have a say in what happens to them, but what does happen to them matters. Whether or not there's a death penalty, what kind of rights we give undocumented immigrants, right, at the border. All of this stuff pertains to them. They are under our jurisdiction, so we should count them, but they have no say in really what happens. So this just completely misunderstands the meaning of all persons. They didn't say all voters. They didn't say, all citizens. Like, where do you draw the line then? Are you going to have only citizens be counted in the census? What's the point of the census then? Just have like voter registration instead of a census, right? Well, that's the first part of this that's illegal. And Trump tried to introduce the citizenship question to the census in his first term. That's what it's called. It's the citizenship question on the census. It asks if you're a citizen. And this would remove, obviously, all undocumented immigrants, or at least make it more transparent. But the point is to remove them from the census. And the court struck that down immediately. And the ACLU, in response to all this stuff, is like, well, let's do it again. It's pretty obvious what the courts have said about this over time. This is a very, very set in stone issue. So that's number one. Number two, the president can't just, from the executive branch, order a new census. This is something that only Congress can do, right? The Congress can absolutely call for a new one in between those 10 years that the Constitution recommends. But the president absolutely cannot, because that's statutory code that Congress has previously legislated. And since one Congress can't control the next Congress, this Congress can obviously say, let's do this new census if the last one was supremely flawed in some way. So that's the important thing there. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I believe, introduced a bill to count did not count illegals, but this would be unconstitutional. The Congress cannot do this. So the Congress can do new count, but they can't exclude illegals from the count. Now, this is being conflated with the whole Texas thing, and the Texas thing is not illegal. The legislators who are breaking quorum will probably be arrested. There's precedent, they will be civilly arrested for abandoning their duty in office, as the law permits, right? I like that they're doing it. I think a lot of people are very proud that the elected officials that they put in office are actually standing up for them a little bit. But what I don't see necessarily is how progressives are making the argument that this is racial gerrymandering. I think this is just pretty standard. I haven't seen I'll have to see the evidence laid out that it's racial. I know California has done the calculations, and they could gerrymander in a way that wouldn't violate any kind of Voting Rights Act. And they're holding that over Texas's head. But they should really just do it anyways. Like, why are all these Democratic states waiting while Texas is having to arrest its legislators who are breaking quorum, right? This is why Democrats, on one hand, they're being pretty good in Texas, but not good enough in other states. Until there's written legislation to regulate this, like, every state should take advantage of it. Let's go back to the Texas stuff, though. Talking about the Texas legislators who are going to get arrested.
A ticking clock as the consequences for their protest against Republican remapping efforts. Those lawmakers have until 1 p.m. Central Time to return to the Texas State House. If they do not return, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton says he will remove them from office. He and the Texas House Speaker have also plans to enforce arrest warrants for them. Texas Senator John Cornyn says the FBI has agreed to track down those rogue Democrats.
The FBI would never detain them, though. That would be a state thing. The FBI could possibly track them, but I think that there is some constitutionality issues with the FBI actually arresting them. And it's not a criminal thing; it's a civil thing. Breaking quorum is a kind of civil infraction. It's like a civil disobedience type thing, like abandoning office on a technicality so that you can delay, obviously, the vote of implementing this gerrymandering plan. But I don't know if they talk about the claims that this is racial.
Chicago and Boston, so obviously across Texas state lines. So that means that you need the federal government to look into interstate matters like this. But, then when I read that George Soros and others are funding this effort, it raises all sorts of questions.
Yeah, they should fund it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. This is not a criminal act. And I see why the FBI would be involved if this was a cross state lines thing. But as I said, the FBI would never make those arrests. This would probably be illegal. I think this is all for this, though. It's a 2-for-1. Like, Trump from the executive branch is trying to remove illegals from the census and command a new census, right? It just shows he has zero regard for separation of powers. Will try to rewrite any law he really wants. This has been shown time and time again, and this is just a great example. Just one more example of him doing just absurd things in office. I'll have to research the racial gerrymandering thing, though. I don't know if the current way the districts are split up is violating any kind of voting rights. It would be interesting if it was, but if it was, I don't know if you could really establish any kind of, I don't know, intent. I don't know along what lines, though, they're trying to get more House seats. Like, couldn't they have done that before? I don't know. But if they were going to get struck down in the courts for voting rights, then why would the Democrats be like scared of, not breaking quorum, like putting the vote through, sending it to the courts, and have the courts strike it down? Then the Democrats would just be in there. Wouldn't have to worry about being arrested. So that's the only part that I'm confused about.